What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you can see, we're doing another sit down video today. It's been a minute. I'm excited. This was actually a video that's been requested quite a few times, so I'm excited to finally sit down and do this for the people who wanted it. So if you read the title of this video, we are going to be discussing the things I wish I knew before I moved out at the age of 19. So if you missed my story time, because I'm not going to be able to touch on that too much today, we'll be here all night, y'all. So I will put it down in the description box below. Make sure you go and watch my story time so you'll know the backstory of me moving to New York. Real quick, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Chanel. I am predominantly a vlogger and I make content based on my lifestyle in New York City. But every now and then I like to come on and do videos that I feel like could help people learn from the mistakes that I made in life. So if that's something that you are interested in, make sure you're subscribed. Well, actually, just make sure you're subscribed anyway, because it's free. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So y'all know we always got to have a little drink when we're doing this, so I'm not in the mood for real wine, so we're doing Trader Joe's sparkling apple cider. Cheers. All right, y'all, so in this day and age, I feel like a lot of people are looking to move out from their parents' house, and it doesn't matter what age you are. I feel like this video will help whoever, because at the end of the day, it's challenging regardless of how old you are to go and move out on your own for the very first time. So I did so many things wrong, and looking back I realized that. So of course when you're like during it, you're not really thinking about that, but I could have better prepared myself. So I'm really making this video to help people learn from the mistakes that I made and kind of give you guys a guide on what I would have done if I had went about it the proper way. And like I said, either way, moving out is hard. Like, it's never going to be easy unless you're a millionaire, like, and you can just get everything done with money. But for regular people like me, especially if you're leaving from like a toxic household or something and you're really eager to move, it's not always going to be a piece of cake, if that makes sense. And I didn't come from a toxic household, but I was just ready to be independent. Like, I feel like from an early age, I was always independent, and I was just ready to get out on my own and do my own thing. So the very first thing I feel like a lot of people need to know is that you need to establish a good credit history. So growing up in my house, financial literacy was not really something that was discussed. Like, was it mentioned every now and then? I believe probably it was, but was it talked about to the point of understanding? No. So with that being said, I never really realized how important my credit was. So when I was in my senior year, I turned 18 early my senior year. So I got an offer for a credit card, and of course I took it, because me thinking, oh my gosh, a credit card, you know, that's free money that I can spend right now. And I knew I had to pay it back, but I didn't realize how serious it was if I didn't pay it back on time. So I'm out here splurging, y'all. I'm like, oh, I'm about to put all my prom stuff on this credit card, da 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 da. And then next thing I know, it was time to pay and I was not paying. Mind you, I was working 3 jobs my senior year in high school, so I could have paid the credit card. I was just not paying it. I have no clue, but I was also going through a lot my senior year, like personal stuff, so I feel like it just was not on my priority list until I got an email that was like, oh, your account is delinquent and it's in collections. Of course, my credit was trash, but credit is very, very important when you're trying to get a place. Having no credit is like, okay, but having bad credit is going to make it a lot harder for you. Basically, I ruined my credit before I even started, like a dummy. And you would think, like, oh, girl, that's common sense. But like I said, when you're not learning about financial literacy, nobody's teaching you about it. You're not learning about it from your parents. You're not learning about it in school. Like, it's not common sense. Like, it's something that you really need to know about and be aware of when you are starting these things. And school does not teach you these things, y'all, but thank God I can find the surface area of a freaking square, because that's something that I use every day. Like, I would recommend that you really research and educate yourself on credit, how to build your credit, how to keep your credit history in good standing, because when you have bad credit or even no credit, you look risky to lenders, and people are not going to be as willing to lend you anything, whether it be renting an apartment, whether it be you need a loan, you need a car, all these things, you're going to get higher APR rates, and you're going to be more likely to be denied for certain things. Most places, I believe, the credit limit that they really, I feel like you want to have at least a 650. That's fair credit. That's not even good, but you want to have at least a 650. I think that's fair. That might be on the bottom range of good, but either way, minimum 650 credit score. So the second thing that I feel like you should do that I did not do, my second mistake, was that I did not have a game plan and I did not really do my research. So I moved to one of the most expensive cities in the world. It's working out perfectly, like everything is good now. But I really struggled in the beginning. And like I said, if you want to know more about that in depth, then you should watch my story time, because I really get into the details. But long story short, I was homeless in the beginning, and I got this vision, because I am a big dreamer, y'all. Like, I set my standards very high for my life, and I am a little bit delusional. So I moved up here with my ex, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna just get a luxury apartment, and I'm gonna be good, like I'm gonna live in Manhattan, the middle of Manhattan and stuff. And that turned sour very quickly, because one, like I said, I did not establish a good credit history, so people were not willing to rent to me. You also have to make 40 times the rent in New York. So pretty much across the country, I feel like the standard is like 3 times the rent. So you want to build a game plan around your income and see how much you can really afford. Because if you're working a minimum wage job, it might not be the best thing to set your sights for your first place to be in some luxury high rise, because at the end of the day, you really cannot afford that, if that makes sense. Even though you might be able to pay and scrape that up every single month, you have to be able to prove that by making 3 times what you're going to be paying in rent each month. Let's say your rent is going to be $1,200. They want to see that you make at least $3,600 per month in income. And you have to be able to prove that. So they're going to ask you for pay stubs. And y'all, people fake pay stubs. Would I do that? Absolutely not. Because if you get caught doing that, you can get in trouble. And second of all, a lot of places now are game to that. So they're going to start calling your employer to verify your employment and your income and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend you do that. I would recommend that you calculate your income, look for the places in the area that you want to move to, and see what you can afford and where. Because even though you want to live, let's say you want to live in like Atlanta, the rent in Atlanta is high now. Like it's not what it used to be. So you really want to research, and maybe you should just start off with an apartment on the outskirts of Atlanta that might be a little bit cheaper. Like live in Austell, or live in what's another place around Atlanta? Y'all, I go to Atlanta every freaking month. I should know this. Yeah, you get my point. Same thing if you want to live in Houston, but it's a little too expensive than for what you're making. Maybe you want to move to the outskirts of Houston. Sometimes it's better to start small. Even though I dream very big, I could have avoided half of the things that I went through if I started small. I'm pretty sure I would have still ended up in the same spot, but I would have not have gone through most of the hardships that I had gone through if I had just built a game plan and started small to fit my means at the moment. One of the things that I did do right though is that I worked a job that I could transfer. So I always tell people this: no matter what kind of job you're working, no matter what you want to do in the future, it's always good to have a job that you can transfer. Because even though you might hate your job or whatever, it's guaranteed income at the moment. You're going to quit your job and try to move somewhere with the pay stubs that you have from your job, and then you can't find another job, and now you can't pay your rent, you get evicted, your credit score goes down a lot, because an eviction is a terrible thing to have on your record. Like, it's just so many things that you have to consider. Really do your research and really figure out your budget and where you want to live. So that, I feel like that's one of the most important things, because I kind of moved up here blindly and I was thinking everything was going to work out, and like I said, which it did, but I was trying, because I was like, I don't want to live with strangers, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, and I was really picky about everything, and I ended up living in Airbnb. So I was basically homeless because I had to move every 2 weeks in and out of Airbnbs, and I wasted so much money doing that, when I could have just started off in like a room and saved that money, and then I could have had the money to move into the apartment that I wanted sooner. If you really need to move out immediately, then I would suggest you look into the cheapest option, which most of the time in big cities are rooms. Smaller towns usually have cheaper apartments. So set your sights on something that you know you can afford at the moment and work your way up to where you want to be. You want to make sure that you come up with a budget. Know exactly what you can afford, because a lot of people get caught up in the rent and they forget that once you move into an apartment, you have to pay for food, you have to pay for your phone, electricity, Wi-Fi bill if you need Wi-Fi, you have to buy furniture. So you have to incorporate all of that into your budget. It's not just rent. If your rent is $1,700 a month and you're making $1,800 a month, yeah, you can pay your rent, but you have $100 left over to try to eat, pay the rest of your small bills. If you want Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Paramount, all these little streaming services, that stuff adds up, you guys. Like, this is not cheap. So on top of your rent, you want to factor in all that extra money that you may or may not need for your other expenses. A lot of places also have an application fee. I feel like almost every place probably has an application. Like, you have to pay to apply for the apartment. You also have to pay for renter's insurance. You have to pay for moving, like if you need a U-Haul, if you need all of these things. Like, you have to really think about how much money you're actually going to be spending. It's not just your rent. So a lot of people forget that, and then when they move, they're struggling. Even though you have enough money to cover your rent, you can't live good quality of life with no extra money. A lot of people don't realize how lucky they are to have parents, and I'm one of them. I did not realize how lucky I was to have parents who were not forcing me to leave my house. I was not in a very toxic environment. Everybody argues with their parents, I feel like, so I did not come from a toxic household, but I was just in a rush to leave because I wanted that independence. I wanted that feeling of being able to be out on my own, not have to live under anybody else's rules, which everybody has their reasons. But if you are fortunate enough to be in a situation where you don't have to rush out of your parents' home or wherever you're living, then I would say you just need to chill, come up with your game plan, and give it a couple more months to really plan. Because once you move and you're trying to furnish and decorate an apartment and put food in it all at once, that's another thing. And then you also have to remember that this is your first time really keeping track of your own money in that aspect where you have multiple different bills and you're fully sustaining yourself. So if you don't have somebody that's always sending you money, you don't have a rich parent or whatever, and you're doing everything on your own, it can be very overwhelming. And that is why a lot of people, when they move out, they end up in bad situations and they end up having to move back into their parents' house because they are not properly prepared. But this is why I'm telling y'all, like, it's a lot more to it than just a rent. A lot of apartments will also require you to pay a security deposit and first month's rent. Some of them also require you to pay last month's rent. So that's already a couple thousand at least that you need to have saved up for you to just move into your place. So you do usually get your security deposit back when you move out. It's just like a security, like in case any damages happen that are not natural, or anything, you do anything in your apartment that would require them to get something fixed that is not, like, I think they call it like natural wear and tear. So like if your carpet is like stained or stuff, like unless it's like a huge serious stain, they're not gonna take that out of your security deposit. But if you bust a hole in the wall or you damage anything in the property, then that comes out of your security deposit when you leave. So usually when you first move out, that is the most expensive time throughout your renting process. Another thing you can do to start, instead of, like, if you don't want to necessarily live in a room with strangers, is if you have friends or family members that are moving out and they're willing to have roommates, you can get like a 2-bedroom and split it with somebody. Now, is this always a good idea? No, you definitely need to have people that you can trust and people that are responsible that you're doing this with. You don't want to just up and move with anybody, trust me. Something else I want to discuss that I didn't really know about is a guarantor. So if you're not familiar with what a guarantor is, basically it's somebody who co-signs on your apartment that says, hey, if they can't pay their rent this month, I'm going to pay it. Is it easy to get a guarantor? If you don't have a family member who's willing to step up and say, hey, if Chanel doesn't have $2,000 to pay her rent this month, then I'm going to pay it for her. A lot of people are not willing to do that. So that is why it's also important to establish a good credit history and to have the proper income for your apartment, because if anything were to happen, they're going to have to pay. And like I said, a lot of people are not willing to put themselves into that position because that's a lot of money. Guarantors do help a lot, especially if you don't meet the income or credit requirements, because in the eyes of the landlord, it's like, so if this person can't pay their rent, I'm still getting my money some way, somehow. They don't care. They just want their money. They want to make sure that your rent is getting paid on time each and every month. So they're going to, by any means necessary, make sure that they're going to get that from you. So if you need a guarantor, more than likely that is not a place that you should be trying to buy, because it means that you cannot prove that you afford it, or you really cannot afford it. Guarantors are also required to make more than the standard income of the apartment. I believe that's true for most places. I'm not sure about where you're trying to move to, but first of all, in New York, the tenant has to make 40 times the rent, and they want the guarantor to make 80 times the rent. So where are you finding somebody with that? Because that's, bro, like over $150,000 depending on where you're trying to live. Save your money. I cannot stress this enough. From somebody who was not a saver, and I really didn't learn about the importance of saving money until I got with my current boyfriend. Save your money, please, because rainy day money, a lot of people say, oh, you only live once. And by a lot of people, I mean me. Oh, I only live once. I'm gonna buy that purse. I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna do that. And then when it was time for me to move out, I ain't had no money. So I was struggling. So put some money aside, even if it's $10, $15, whatever. Put money aside to go towards your goal, because at the end of the day, you're going to need a lot of money to move out. You need to save your money for that security deposit, for that first month, for the last month, or any other expense that you may have when moving in. Okay, so you're past all the scary stuff, you're financially stable, you have money saved up, you know what you want, you have a budget, all of that. Now you're starting to look at places. Do not be afraid to ask questions. At the end of the day, this is going to be a place that you're paying to live in every month, and you're going to be there for a minimum of 12 months on a lease. You need to make sure you're asking all the questions that you want to ask. Make sure you know everything about the unit. Make sure you even maybe talk to other tenants, read reviews online, all of that, because it's very easy to go to a place that looks so upscale and nice and luxurious, and then when you're living there, you just have problem after problem. I see it happens to so many people all the time. I'm currently in the process of looking at apartments, so I always do research. And then the apartment, of course, the model unit looks beautiful. They have it nicely furnished, it smells good, people are nice. And then you read reviews from tenants and they're complaining about having roaches and the walls are thin and this, that, and the third. So make sure you're really doing your research on places, and don't just settle for the first place you see. Look at multiple different apartments. Set up a few days out of your week to just go to different units and see which one would best fit you. Ask questions, talk to people, all that. Try to move in like the off season. So typically a lot of people move in the summer because school's out, it's the perfect time to relocate with kids, jobs are transferring a lot, people on vacation. A lot of people move in the summer. That's like the peak season to move in and out of places. So maybe if you try to set your sights on maybe moving like the end of fall, the beginning of winter, like November, December, January, February, stuff like that. I've even noticed that most of the places that I've looked at, the prices are cheaper because not a lot of people move during those times. The holiday season, people are spending money. They're not really focused on moving. They're focused on the new year. They're focused on Christmas and all this kind of stuff. So try to schedule your move around a time where things might be a little bit cheaper. And because it's the off season, that means that a lot of moving companies might be having deals. They might be a little cheaper as well, so that you can get a moving truck for a little bit cheaper because nobody else is really moving. They still need business, so they're going to offer you a better deal. Also, if you move around the holidays and your family celebrates like Christmas and stuff, you can ask for stuff for your house for Christmas. That's a really good way to get some decor. You can set up like an Amazon wish list. You can set up a housewarming registry and all that, and just put some things on there that you would need for your apartment. Typically, I would say appliances would be the best thing to ask for, like a coffee maker, air fryer, toaster, microwave, all that stuff. Well, most places come with a microwave, but if it don't, then yeah, because a lot of times that's gonna be the stuff that you're spending the most money on. Not a lot of people are gonna buy you a whole bed, a mattress, because those things are pretty pricey. But little small things that you're gonna need that you're not really thinking about, those are the best things to ask for like your birthday, for Christmas, housewarming gifts, all of that. If you're moving in with roommates or you're getting a place with friends or anything like that, make sure you set your boundaries and rules before you move in, because things like, just because you know somebody, and I always say this, you don't really know a person until you live with them. Being in the same space as them, they might be dirty, they might not clean up after themselves, they might be loud, they might have no like consideration for you. Like, it's just so many different things. So you want to make sure that you set rules and boundaries and are understanding of that before you actually move in with somebody, because once you're stuck in a lease with them, you're just stuck in a lease with them. And you don't want to be uncomfortable in your own space, because then it's going to be awkward, there's going to be tension, all kind of stuff. And just because you establish rules, of course, that does not mean that they're going to follow them, but it's good to have a clear understanding of what you like and do not like before you sign that lease, so that you can say, hey, you know what, I don't think this is a good idea, you're not really a good fit, or anything like that. This seems like it would be common sense. Be aware of rental scams. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So we have a habit of, when we're trying to find someplace cheap and all that, we'll go to places like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, or these little websites that promise good deals on apartments for very, very like too good to be true places. And so one that I saw a lot when I was first moving was, oh, I'm a missionary for a church and I'm on a mission in Africa and I need somebody who's just a good tenant to take care of my place and stay there until I get back. And the rent is like $300 to $600 a month, and it's a luxury apartment with a washer and a dryer. Be for real. Be for real. If it sounds too good to be true, 9 times out of 10, it mostly is. A common scam I've been seeing now is people will say, oh, if you want to view this unit, you have to put $300 down to hold the unit for you. And then you're like, okay, so what if I don't want the unit after I see it? Oh, you can transfer it to another unit and you can continue to look at units until you find something that you want. Don't ever give anyone money for a unit that you cannot see before paying, because that literally screams scam. Do not ever pay for a unit that you cannot view beforehand. That literally makes 0 sense. If it is a unit that is able to be viewed, you should be able to view it before you put any kind of deposit or form of payment down on it. So for someone who went out on a whim, took a leap of faith, and moved somewhere without being prepared, it's possible. I'm not telling you that it's not possible. I'm not telling you not to do it. Would I do what I did the same exact way again? In some ways I would say yes, because I feel like that kind of got me to where I am. The process of everything that I went through kind of got me to where I am today, but at the same time, if I knew I could have prevented a lot of the stuff that I went through, I most definitely would have. And I want you guys just to go about stuff in the safest and smartest way, which I did not do. And now that I'm 24, looking back 5 years ago when I did this, it's just like, girl, that could have ended so badly. So badly. Like, what? But I'm just glad it did not. And I want all of y'all to be safe and careful and make sure you're getting yourself into a situation that's not going to cause more harm than good. Everybody has to learn from their own mistakes. I can come on here and tell you, oh yeah, you should do it or you shouldn't do it or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to give you guys as much advice as possible so that you can make the decision in the best possible way for yourself. Alright you guys, so that is pretty much it for my things I wish I knew before moving out at 19 video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed to my channel, and comment down some more topics that you guys would like to hear me talk about for my Upgrade Your Life series, because I really do enjoy making sit down videos. Vlogging is cool, vlogging is fun, but it takes a lot out of you, and these kind of videos I can just kind of just take a breather and relax and just talk to you guys and give y'all some more insight on me, my life, and all of that. So comment down some topics, anything you want to know about. If you want me to go a little bit more in depth about maybe like financial literacy, credit cards, anything like that, just let me know and I will make a video about that as soon as I can. I love you guys so much, and once again, thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.